You didn't get poorer because you bought too many coffees. You got poorer because while you were behaving exactly the way the system told you to behave, the price of simply entering normal adult life was being front-run in real time. Let me show you what that looks like. A 28-year-old man does everything the culture calls responsible. He keeps roommates longer than he wants. He skips every vacation. He cooks every meal at home. He's still driving that same beat-up car that should have been replaced 2 winters ago. Every month, he auto-transfers money into savings and tells himself, "This discomfort is temporary. I'm buying stability." 4 years later, he's got real cash, not fake Instagram money, actual cash. His parents and older relatives look at his balance and say, "Wow, he's doing it right." Then he finally tries to buy a small house. The sticker price is already higher. He expected that. What he didn't expect, the mortgage rate also moved against him. Same house, same neighborhood, same life he was aiming for. Now it needs a bigger down payment, and the monthly payment is $450 higher than it would have been 3 years ago. The seller already pocketed the asset appreciation. The bank pocketed the fatter financing spread. And he shows up with 4 years of perfect discipline and still loses ground on both sides at once. That's the hook almost nobody says out loud. Traditional saving didn't fail because he lacked discipline. It failed because he was using a static tool in a market that was repricing both the asset and the cost of money at the exact same time. Cash is not neutral. Cash is a position, and right now, it's often the weaker position. Here's layer 1 most people still miss. When the thing you want depends on both price and credit, waiting stops being automatically smart. Prudence isn't how careful you feel. Prudence is what your balance sheet is actually doing while time keeps moving. The saver held liquidity, feels mature, right? The previous owner held scarcity. The lender held pricing power. One side owned something that could go up in value. Another side owned the right to charge more for access to that value. The saver just held dollars that did neither. That is the first asymmetry. He was standing in cash while the other two sides were standing in leverage and scarcity. His money preserved optionality, their positions extracted upside. Layer 2, the hidden tax of keeping your options open. A lot of you think staying liquid gives you flexibility. You picture yourself as the smart one with the big emergency fund. But let's look at 2 friends earning the exact same salary in the same city. Friend A saves aggressively, stays liquid, waits for the perfect time. Friend B stretches a little and buys a modest condo 2 years earlier. 5 years later, Friend A is still paying rent that's gone up 28%. Friend B locked in a fixed mortgage payment that now feels cheap and has already paid down real equity while the property appreciated. Friend A bought flexibility. Friend B bought insulation from the next round of repricing. Optionality sounds intelligent until you realize you're paying a monthly premium just to stay uncommitted while the committed side quietly stacks better math. Liquidity is not free safety. If you sit in it too long, it turns into a recurring fee you pay for not having crossed into position. Layer 3, the car trap. This one is brutally visual. A 30-year-old guy keeps his old sedan alive because avoiding a payment feels responsible. He's not showing off, he's trying to be smart. Then the transmission dies on the highway. He walks into the dealership with cash in the bank and gets hit with 3 realities at once. Used cars in decent shape are now 35 to 40% more expensive. Interest rates are higher, and the financing terms are uglier. Mandatory gap insurance, extended warranties, the works. The guy who bought the same model 2 years earlier, he's driving free. Our responsible friend, he delayed and got handed the exact same need later under worse conditions with less leverage. Waiting didn't improve his bargaining power, it just handed the better price and better terms to someone else. That is what modern delay looks like. Not wisdom, just arriving later to a nastier version of the same transaction. Layer 4. Retirement accounts and the quiet cost of waiting for certainty. A 26-year-old man keeps $30,000 sitting in savings because he wants the market to feel safe before he invests. His coworker, same age, same salary, maxes out the 401k and grabs the full employer match. 5 years later, the difference isn't philosophical anymore. One person has his own saved money plus whatever tiny interest the bank gave. The other has his saved money plus free employer money plus tax shelter plus 5 extra years of compounding in actual assets. The cautious one can still say, "At least I was careful." The other one can show you a balance sheet where multiple forces were working in his favor at the same time. This is what waiting for certainty really costs. Not just returns, institutional advantages. One person stayed liquid, the other got paid to lock up capital. Layer 5. When saving becomes an emotional costume. Imagine S1 with $12,000 in savings and $9,000 sitting on a credit card at 24% interest. In conversation, he sounds so prudent. "I have an emergency fund." He feels organized. But financially, it's ridiculous. One pile earns almost nothing. The other pile is bleeding him dry every single month. The credit card company is the one actually profiting from that gap. That's not resilience. That's the emotional appearance of resilience. The bank sees a customer financing a 24% APR spread while congratulating himself for being safe. One side of the balance sheet is being gently preserved. The other side is being shredded. This is where generic advice completely breaks. Not all dollars are equally useful in all positions. A saved dollar sitting still while another dollar is being destroyed at double-digit interest is not a sign of strength. It is a sign that the balance sheet has been arranged to reduce anxiety, not maximize outcome. And this is where the damage stops being episodic and becomes structural. All these small things stack quietly. Higher rent renewals, worse loan terms, later entry prices, thinner negotiating power at work. You don't explode, you just get slowly narrowed. You still have options, just worse ones. You can still move, it just costs more. You can still buy, you just bring less leverage. You can still invest, but after the better subsidy, the better timing, or the better entry price is already gone. That's the real damage, not collapse, compression, not one giant mistake, a series of worse starting points. And here's the part that should piss you off. Your caution is profitable to other people. Landlords love the responsible tenant who never quite qualifies for the mortgage. Lenders love the anxious buyer who shows up late and accepts whatever terms. Employers love the worker who can't afford to walk away. Every extra month you stay liquid and well-behaved. Someone else is monetizing the gap between your discipline and your actual ownership. That is the asymmetry underneath the whole story. You are trying to become stable. They are getting paid while you try. So why does the old just save more advice still survive? Because it's safe. Because no one ever gets in trouble for telling a 24-year-old to save more. It sounds mature, it sounds caring, but safe advice survives because it protects the person giving it, not always the person following it. The truth is colder. Cash is not the destination. Cash is staging capital. It's for runway. It's for shock absorption. It's for killing toxic debt. It's for jumping into advantage structures while the subsidies still exist. It's for crossing into position before the next round of repricing closes the window. It is not supposed to sit forever while housing, transportation, education, and ownership keep moving away. Traditional saving hasn't become useless. It has become incomplete. Used correctly, it buys you time. Used for too long, it sells your time. The market doesn't care that you felt responsible. It doesn't care that you skipped restaurants, kept the old phone, or drove the dying car. It only cares where your capital was positioned while prices, rates, and windows moved. If your money never crosses into the right structures, your discipline doesn't compound into wealth, it compounds into missed windows. And that is the coldest truth in this entire conversation. In a repricing economy, the saver who stays permanently defensive doesn't slowly become secure. They slowly become the financing layer underneath the owners, the lenders, and the institutions that got there first.